Hey guys, it's Matt. Today we're going to talk about a statue that depicts one of the best, biggest baddies from the Marvel Comics universe. This is the Thanos from the Avengers Assemble line comics version by Sideshow Collectibles. Let's get into it. Alright, first and foremost, let's talk about this awesome art box that it comes with. It's got a really simplistic Thanos Art Deco design with this logo right here that indicates the Infinity Glove as Thanos has it on his left hand. This dark blue and light blue motif sort of calls back to the original colors from the comics of the comics design of Thanos. On the bottom, you've got your UPC and copyright information, and this is a number matched box. This is number 251 of 1250. All right, as usual, we're going to start with the base. Let's give a look at the bottom here. We've got this really cool graphic design that has Thanos' name right here, Infinity Glove logo here, and then your numbering and your logos right there. Now the base itself, it looks like parts of the Avengers campus that have been destroyed, and this is a proximity base that goes along with the rest of the Avengers Assemble line. So if you're collecting this line, this one will fit right in, kind of a centerpiece to the rest. Now the main portion of the statue is the body here. It's got a large, very heavy cast piece with this really unique but also classic design of Thanos' costume. And that fits right into the base with this big heavy key and a large peg. It's a very solid feeling piece. It's really heavy, even heavier than its size looks. Next we're going to put on his shoulder pads. Now he's got these cool classic wing pads that come off of each side, and these are keyed so they only go one way. One's larger and the left one here is smaller. Next we'll add Thanos' gauntlets here. We've got his right fist in his kind of determined pose here. And now this is the really cool part. This is the left Infinity Gauntlet, and this actually comes with a light up feature. It goes right here where the battery box actually functions as the peg that goes into the arm. And you've got your little, if you have Thanos on Throne from a few years back, this is almost the exact same setup. So you've got your little spring button here, and that turns on the Infinity Gauntlet. I think this feature really adds a lot. And that holds on right there. And there is a magnet in here too, so it's a very secure attachment. Lastly, you've got your portraits. So you've got your kind of classic smiling portrait, and then there's this grimacing portrait. Now the grimacing one, there's two versions of this statue you can get. You can get this classic color version, or you can get a modern colored version. It's more of a muted blue and golds. Similar to the MCU design in its paint application. And this portrait has a little bit more techno detail added to the helmet, and so it kind of fits with that one. This one's a little bit more simple like the comic, but it's really cool that you get both. This one has kind of longer eyebrows too, so there's some subtle differences between these portraits. I actually like the simplistic one with this because he's got that cool classic smile that Thanos is known for. But if you do want him to be a little bit more angry Thanos, you can use the modern portrait, and they both fit right in. They look great. We'll leave the happy Thanos for now. He's a big piece. The Avengers Assemble statues are around 1/5 scale, roughly, but he fits right in with the line. He's a larger character, so he's bigger than some of the others in the line. But it goes really well in that collection. Also goes really well as a standalone piece. So let's talk about my impressions of this piece from top to bottom. I'll tell you about a few things that I really like, just a couple things that maybe I would have done differently, and hopefully you'll get a sense if it's right for your collection. Okay, so you've got this really cool Thanos statue. You want a standing Thanos from Sideshow in your collection. This is the one you're going to go for. So we've got the fantastic Thanos on Throne from Sideshow. It's a wonderful piece. I have it in my collection, but he's sitting down. If you want a triumphant Thanos, or you want to complement that other piece with another Thanos with somewhat of a similar design, you can definitely tell it's informed by some of the same artists, and it's one of the things I like. So you got a few details that carry over from piece to piece. This is going to be the Thanos for you. I really like the way that they've put this out. Now, with there being two versions of this, you've got your classic color scheme here, or you've got your modern color scheme. The modern color scheme is kind of a muted blue and gold, so it goes along more with the modern MCU realistic design, and that's a similar color scheme as to what's on the Thanos on Throne. I wanted to mix it up a little bit and have the classic Thanos from the Infinity Gauntlet series. Now, it's not exactly taken from that. There's a lot more realism and detail put into this costume as what you would see on the comic panel, but the color scheme and inspiration comes directly from the comic panel. Now, these boots are a lot more techno armor style rather than Thanos's kind of big pirate boot things, but you see elements of it called out. You got this large cuff here, and you've got, of course, the all yellow. Now, this yellow, I'm not sure if it picks up on camera or not, but at least it doesn't in photos the way you would think that it would, is a very pearlescent gold. And it comes off much deeper in real life than it does on camera. It has a whole lot of kind of opalescence in here, and it looks really, really pretty in person. This base is really well designed. So you've got some of these one knee up characters, and the bases sometimes look sort of artificially sculpted in to support that pose. So it's almost like the character was posed and then the base was built up to match it. This is done really, really well in that it looks very natural. So he's got his right leg up here on this crushed A, like he's stomped it out, and he's standing on what would be like tarmac down here, and the whole thing flows together really well. So it looks like you grabbed a piece of the ground right out of the display and you stuck it down here with Thanos on it. So it's got a really cool cohesive feel. The Avengers A is not easily recognizable at first, kind of just looks like junk, but when you're putting it together you can see that it's like the Avengers Campus A. So you can see a little bit easier back here. This is the top of the A and then the circle that goes all the way around. I think it's a really well executed design element and incorporated really well into the whole piece. The blue on his tunic and his pants here is the only thing of the paint design that I'm not the biggest fan of. And some of that's because my personal preference is for a little bit deeper shading. Now there is shading here, there's shading all over, so it's got this kind of flat blue, and then there's highlights and everything all along his musculature. But overall it's kind of just a comic style flat blue. It's just sort of a cohesive blue, a monotone blue, I guess. And just my personal preference would be a little bit deeper shading. But I've had people over and they love the way it looks just as is, and I'm happy to have it in the collection, but it's something to think about. Now, the gold has shading all throughout as well, so it's not just painted on there and left. There is subtle airbrush deepening of all of these lines. The musculature of this design is total Thanos. So he's big and super muscular and athletic, but kind of a stocky athletic. It definitely looks like something to be contended with. Now, the Hulk from the Avengers Assemble line is another big statue from this line, and this Thanos stands right up to it. So Hulk on this platform would be just about that tall as well. He's got his hands up, ready to do a Hulk smash, and this one fits right along in sizing with that, so they would pair very nicely in a display. The sculpt and design of this gauntlet here is a little bit different from other pieces that Sideshow has done, and I really like it. It's a little bit more simple, which is kind of harkens back to the comic design of the Infinity Gauntlet, which was just pretty much a straight gauntlet with a few designs on it, and then the Infinity Stones. The Infinity Stones lighting up. Now, some folks don't like light up statues. I actually like them a lot. And it runs on 2 AA's, and it actually runs for a long, long time. I left this on accident one time, and I came back after a weekend away, and it was still shining. The head sculpts. Let's talk about these head sculpts. Now, I mentioned earlier that these are 2 different head sculpts. It's not the same thing with 2 different expressions. The paint application is different. The purple on his head over here is kind of a more bluish purple. The purple here is a little bit more saturated, slightly more saturated purple. It's got less blue in it. And this one has red stars in his eyes. This one has blue stars in his eyes. So this is a little bit more of the modern Thanos. I don't know if it picks up on camera, but there's very, very subtle detailing, little tiny hieroglyphs and like, what do you call it, scroll work all along these eyebrows here. It's just a really cool, detailed head sculpt. And the teeth and everything are just fantastic. The teeth could be a little glossier, I think, but they present well as is. I don't know which portrait I like better. I switched them out quite a bit because they're both really good. It's really well done overall. The nice thing about it is if this were quarter scale, it would be absolutely gigantic. So it's pretty display space friendly. And since Thanos is a big guy, he looks good like if you've got your quarter scale premium format Avengers and you just put him on maybe a little pedestal up behind them so that he's visible, he would fit right in with the display because the detail and execution is right on par with anything from the premium format, larger scale line as well. This being fully sculpted, there's no multimedia elements on this at all. So is this a must buy? I would say yes, especially if you are collecting the Avengers Assemble line. This is kind of, in my mind, the centerpiece of the collection. So you've got the big bad and then all the other guys are assembling around him to fight him. So, you know, there you go. It looks great in a collection. It looks great on its own. And paired, if you've got like the Infinity Gauntlet artwork, like maybe you've got a print of the comic cover, this looks fantastic in front of it because it just calls out all of those design elements that are present in the original comic art. And that's actually how I'm going to display this guy. So it is still available in both the classic and the modern versions at Sideshow. So jump on there, search it up, and get one for yourself. Highly recommended. Happy collecting.
Did you enjoy that video? Be sure to subscribe by hitting the S icon on your screen and click the bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under product info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.